We were a very close family. We would do outdoor activities a lot.
Daddy would bring us fishing and stuff like that. We would go down to the swamp. We were always doing something together. My brother was my best friend growing up. We fought like cats and dogs, but we were also just so close. I always felt protective over him. And if anybody was gonna pick on him, it was gonna be me.
The two of them, no matter what they went through, they had each other's back. Like, you did not talk about Angel in front of Michael. He'd stand up for her. And Angel was the same way for him. He was 16. We thought that he had a simple stomach virus.
I had fell on my skateboard and I had hurt my back. And then I thought, oh, it might just be like a pulled muscle. And eventually it got into the point where I couldn't walk or anything. And I was just basically like, okay, this is getting bad. And I was getting to the point where I was like sick to my stomach. I'd be throwing up. I couldn't hold any food down or anything. So my parents were automatically like, okay, we need to take him to, we just thought like a walk-in clinic would be good.
As soon as the doctor laid him on the examining table, he knew immediately something was wrong, and he said, you need to bring your child to the hospital. We brought him to Rapides Regional, and it went from saying he has a mass, he has a tumor, and then finally a room full of doctors and nurses flooded us and said, your child has cancer.
It was a stage 4, so it was an 11 by 10 centimeter tumor here, but it also spread to where my lungs are, in my bone marrow, basically just tumors everywhere, and a rhabdomyosarcoma was the official name of it. Really, what was just going through my head was, am I ready, for something like this in my life? But honestly, you didn't have a choice.
I literally thought we were gonna watch him die. I thought that this is it, that we were only gonna have a short while with him left.
Michael was already in St. Jude's, and I had just had my second child, Chloe May. Whenever I had her, something was just, it wasn't right.
We got the phone call that evening, and Angel was so upset, and she said, Mama, I gotta tell you something. And I said, what? And she said, I have cancer.
It's called neuroendocrine tumors. And when I found out, I was scared.
It was devastating because you're already going through one, and you can't even imagine that the other child's calling you with this. And I was so torn because I was in Memphis, but I have a child in Louisiana that's going through it too.
It was a horrible, gruesome thing, but they had to basically guide a needle into my stomach with an ultrasound machine, and they would cook the tumors with a little needle. So they would cook it from the inside, and it would burn so bad. It was hard because my mom, I had my husband, but my mom was like my rock, and I didn't have her there because she was in Memphis with my brother.
She was like, Mama, you've got to be there. You're okay. Do what you're doing. Get him through it. And she said, I'm gonna be all right.
So it was a very hard situation to kind of go through, especially because I was only, I believe, 19 at the time.
It was really like a kind of a helpless feeling, because I had that feeling of assurance through mine, like my experience. I knew everything was going to be okay because, I believed God. I didn't have that same answer when I prayed for my sister. I didn't have that real, audible, hey, it's going to be okay, and that I was always just really worried about her and just really constantly just thinking, what if I don't even have my sister when I do go back home? I was really having a lot of thoughts going through my head, and I was praying to God, and I just got a peace about everything, and He told me, you're gonna make it through this, everything's gonna be okay. Even though everything in the world was telling me, hey, you got something that's gonna kill you, it's just got complete peace of it and just said, hey, God's gonna bring you through this.
He was the one who had amazing faith and he was the one who was telling everybody God was gonna get him through this and that God was gonna heal him.
It was amazing even when they diagnosed him, because when he was faced with all those people coming in and saying this to him, he spoke it right then and there, 16 years old, laid up in a hospital bed, and he said, God is going to see me through this, and I'm not worried about it.
Michael was awesome, man. I don't know how to say it. He was my rock. Even though he was 16 years old, he was more mature about it than me. You know what I mean? I was scared. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't let on that I was, but I was, you know. But Michael, woo! He told me when we first found out down here in Rapides, he told me, Daddy, I think he knows, you know, he had cancer. He said, God told me, don't worry about it. He said, I've been praying about it. God told me, go do what I got to do. It's gonna be all right.
I had an experimental protocol, which means they don't know exactly what the effects of the chemos are and everything, so they kind of just studying it and stuff, and they just basically pumped me full of crazy amounts of chemo and radiation and stuff like that.
They slammed him with 7 different kinds of chemo, plus he had radiation. But this guy got this protocol written, and now kids are going through a better therapy because of all that he went through. Michael had gotten to a place in time, and God knew it. Michael said, Mom, I need to talk to you. And I said, okay. And he said, Mama, I'm tired. And he said, I don't want to do any more. He said, I don't want any more treatments. I don't care how much is left or what is going on. I'm done. I'm done. And it took me back, and it took me a minute. And then I spoke to him and I said, Michael, I said, I'm sorry, but you are getting results that kids are praying for, that parents and families are praying for. And I said, you can hate me all the rest of your life, whether that's a little while or whether it's so many years. I said, but we got to finish this.
We leaned on each other a lot, you know, and it felt like anything that I was going through, they were going through. I felt stronger in that aspect because it felt like we were a team, you know, going against something.
My mom, I just always look at my mom like she's that stronghold. You know, my dad, he's that, you know, that strong man of the house figure, but my mom, she's just always got it figured out. She always made sure that we was okay, and she supported us no matter what, and she you know, she never did allow any doubts to even show to us. You know, it was just, she knew that everything was going to be okay, and it made me feel better, and I'm sure it made Michael feel better too.
We'd always joke around and just, it would feel normal, like home, even though we were at a hospital and stuff, you know, and they were always there. And I mean, of course, your parents, they're worried and everything, but they were always there beside me, and anything that I ever needed, they would, at the drop of a dime, you know, go to my help. Really, music was my personal thing that got me through a lot of the times that I was going through. I would just play guitar and kind of, you know, just learn new songs, and that would keep my mind busy, and I would just be there in a hospital bed for hours. And for the first 3 months, I was just laying in a hospital bed, so it wasn't much more else to do, but it really did help.
Praise God, it's been 5 years, over 5 years, and I haven't had any tumors come up or anything, and I've been cancer-free, and I give that all to God.
They finally tell you you're cancer-free. Tell me just about that day, what it was like to hear that, and also kind of share like your testimony, like how you kept your faith through all that.
Right. Really, it had to be one of the best feelings. Honestly, it's like knowing that God keeps His promises if you wait on Him and His timing and His love and everything, and trust in that and just believe it the whole time. And He rewards the people who do that. You know, if you stay faithful to Him, He will. I feel like I was in jail or something like that, and I just got out and I could walk around and be free, and I just felt like I have a chance to be normal again, and you know, feel like I can do anything. And that really just gives you a feeling of, I gotta live this life, not just like to the fullest, but I have to live it for a purpose, a meaning, you know. And I would really want my purpose to be glorifying God, you know, that because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for not only the promise that He did give me, because I would just lost faith and just given up long before, you know, that time that I felt like giving up. I would just gave up without Him, you know. And then not only for giving me the promise, but keeping it.
Gone. I think probably the same thing I did when I found out he had cancer. Probably cried, laughed, happy.
I see a lot of things going on, you know, in other people's lives. They're facing other things, but really, you know, you have to look for the good in every day. Even though you see storms going on around you, you have to believe that there's a brighter tomorrow coming.
God loved us so much, even though both of our kids had to go through such a horrific experience. I got both of them in my life. You know, where I wasn't promised either one of them to survive this, I have both of them.
You're kind of searching for the deeper truths of life and just really wanting to get closer with God and finding out the better things in life than just the things that are so temporarily, you know, make you happy. Like before, you get so happy about like, oh, you know, I did this new trick on my skateboard or something like that. But now I'm trying to find like, hey, I'm starting a family, and you know, I'm getting out in the world and experiencing new stuff, and I feel like that and telling people my story just feels so much bigger than, you know, a skateboard trick and stuff like that. But really just, and more and all, just growing closer with God has become more of the meaning of life to me.
Just hold on to God. Just praise Him through it, because He's got you, and He can take care of it. He's bigger than this.
Just pray, and even if you don't break through right away, just believe God will hear you, and He always hears you. He's always with you. But don't be afraid to lean on other people, even if it's not your family. Just find somebody that you can trust and talk to, and just, even if it's a complete stranger, you know, and just tell them, hey, look, I'm going through this, and they might be able to relate, and God just might be putting them there where they can, you know, help you through the time. Because in all honesty, we're not meant to face things alone in this world. We're either supposed to lean on God, or we're supposed to be there for one another. And I think God gave us each other for that reason, because we have power in agreeing on something. That's it.